Hey YouTubers, welcome to the channel. I'm Tony the Technician, and today we're going to be going back into my 23 Colorado Trail Boss, and we're going to be installing the CCE ditch light mounts as well as the diode dynamic lights. As you can see right here, we have 4 lights that we're going to be installing on those. Sorry, my AC just kicked on. I'll be showing you how to install the brackets, the lights, and how I'm running the wiring, as well as installing the switches and all of that good information. So if you guys have any questions, comments, concerns, please feel free, drop a comment down below, and I'll have the websites to both the CCE mount as well as the diode dynamic lights linked down in the description for you guys. So I hope you guys enjoy. Make sure to smash that thumbs up, and if you haven't subscribed, make sure to subscribe. Let's get into this. Here are all the products that we're going to be installing today. We have main SS3 3-inch LED pods. These are the Pro Series, and I went with the amber lens. And then we also have the SSC2, which will be mounted vertically on the side, as you can see here. Basically, you get a bunch of stainless hardware, Allen head, but when you attach the other bracket to the side here, the fastener isn't quite long enough. If you see in there, the nylon locking nut just drops down in there. Well, the original fastener wasn't quite long enough, right? I mean, it did thread, but only by a couple, and I didn't feel like that was secure enough, so I just cut down my own 1032 fastener, used the same nylon locking nut, and fastened it together. So we'll be doing the exact same thing for this set, but the light will go on the opposite side. So this will be for the driver's side, so the C2 will be pointed out further, whereas these will be more front facing. And then with that, I also picked up the black covers just to kind of protect them when they're not in use. And then I went with the light duty wiring harnesses, one for each set. So one will control the SS3s, and then one will control the C2s. I'll have the Diode Dynamics website linked down below, so if you guys are interested in any of this, you guys can easily find it. It does come with like instructions on assembly and all that and all the necessary hardware. These are purchased separately. And then we also have our ditch brackets here. So we're going to start with installing these, then we'll get everything else mounted and the wiring harness ran. Thing is, I have the Redline tuning struts for the hood, which mount up here. And these are going to be 13mm nuts here, so should be pretty simple to install. The only issue being if the ditch bracket being on here, if there will be enough threads left. Worst case scenario, I remove this nut that has a washer attached to it, and I just install a nut, and hopefully that will give me the threading that I need to feel like it's secure. So we'll go ahead and remove these and see, but I'm gonna do one at a time so I don't have to worry about the hood moving, and hopefully we can get it installed that way. But we'll get you guys set up and we'll start on one side. So with the Redline strut, you can see that the stud doesn't quite come all the way through, or flush at least. So I am just going to go ahead and use another fastener and remove that washer. Very easy to install. So especially if you just have the original hood prop and don't have the struts, then it'll be extremely easy. Just do one at a time so your hood doesn't move around. If you do both, just make sure you mark your hood and know exactly where it lines up, otherwise you're going to be messing with your hood in order to get it lined back up. So I did end up running a washer. I just found a thin washer, and it still allows me to get threads through there. And then if you want, you could put a little blue Loctite on there to hold it in place just to make sure. But fitment is real good, and with these Redline tuning struts, the hood does actually open more than the height that your prop rod would hold it at. But as you can see, there's no clearance issues at all. So find out more once the light is actually on there, but as far as the bracket is perfect. So there you can see it. I think it's gonna look really nice when it's all done. So I'm gonna go ahead and get the other side done, and then we'll get to the wiring harness. Both of them are mounted. No clearance issues on either side. Maybe 5-10 minutes to install the brackets. Now what we're gonna do is lay out the harness. There is a rubber grommet right there that goes down by the fuse box on the passenger side. I'm gonna use that one since the battery is located on the passenger side, but there is also a big grommet on the driver's side if you prefer to go through that. But I'm gonna go, it'll connect to the battery, it'll pass through here, and then I'll take the wiring and switches over to the driver's side, and then there will be plenty of wire for each headlight. I'll go ahead and show you the wiring harness now. So with the wiring harness, I know this looks like a bunch of jumbled garbage, but you have the switch here, and then you have approximately 9 feet of cable or wire until you get to the pigtail. So 9 feet for the switch, and then basically I think it's 8.5, 9 feet for the switch, and then 9 feet for each cable that goes to each light. And then you have about 18 inches to 2 feet for the battery lead. So this will connect to the battery, and then you'll have your 2 Deutsch connectors that connect to each one of the pod lights, and then your switch that goes inside. I do have backlit lights, so it does have a 3-position switch, 1 for the backlight and 2 for the actual light. And we'll be mounting these in the dash as well. So I don't feel like spending the $500 or so for the GM auxiliary switches. I think that's ridiculous. So that's why we're going this route, but we're gonna do it as clean as possible. So I'm gonna go ahead and get through grommet down there and get the wires passed through the firewall. So we have them pass through the firewall, which you don't necessarily have to cut the grommet. You can pull it from the inside or push it from the engine bay, and you can sneak between it. Now that will probably leave a little bit of a gap. It won't be 100% shut. So if you want, you can cut through the grommet. I just pass next to it. I'll show you on the passenger side. Here's one of your fuse boxes. It sits right there, and it's gonna pass through right there. We're gonna run it up under the dash over to the driver's side, but I have my cables pulled through. So now I'll get them ran to the driver's side. I have it ran to the other side. I've basically just ran it across from the grommet behind the carpet and then sneak it through right here. There's a passageway that goes to the other side. Kind of see some light over there. And then I'll show you where it comes out. So on the driver's side, we have it coming out right there, and we will run it up here, and I'm going to run the switches to right here. And they can be placed, you know, basically anywhere here or here. But if you want to get a good eye, just grab down here. You can pull this side panel off, and then you can actually feel around back here. You can feel where this switch is. You can feel that there's clearance basically from right here over. There is a little plastic wall right about here, so I'm going to be mounting my 2 switches right here. But you could also go over here if you're just running one. You can also go down here. This panel pops off as well, real easy. So I'm gonna do my best. I've made up a little template with my switches. Yeah, it's not pretty. And get them marked just so they're the same height and they're level next to each other. I'm gonna use a center punch, make sure that they're distanced properly and at the right height. You can also take a measurement from like this bend to here, get the center, and do it that way. But I'm gonna go ahead and get these holes drilled and get it opened up so we can mount these switches and get the wires plugged in. Here it is so far. Don't worry, it's gonna look a lot better than this. It's just got some plastic around it, and they're not opened up as large as they need to be. These are pretty good sized switches. I've basically just been stepping up from a small bit to a larger bit, and I have my largest bit that I just passed through, and obviously it is still nowhere near large enough, so we're gonna have to open it up. I'll probably use my Dremel to come in here and just slowly open this up. And then with these switches, it's like 3/4 of an inch I want to say, if I remember correctly. But then you have this tab on top. So basically, once I open the hole up large enough, I'm going to then make a small passageway or keyway on the top, and that's going to allow this to lock in and not rotate back and forth, so it should sit level or straight across. Got them done up. I know a lot of people are probably freaking out. A lot of people probably don't want to drill holes into the dash. You can get a switch panel if you prefer something that maybe you screw in down here, or you know, use 3M tape or whatnot, but as long as you're careful, it'll turn out just fine. Just make sure you get them nice and level. I actually found, instead of using my Dremel, I just have been slowly working at it with the X-Acto knife. It cuts through extremely easily, and I can just kind of shave away a little at a time. And then I have also created my little keyhole up there, and so basically I put this in, line that key up on top, and I have it very snug. So it does have a lip around here, so it's going to cover up like any imperfections or anything like that, but it should go in very nice, snug, straight. Got to go ahead and get the wires ran up here first and come out. I'll attach them to the switch, and then we'll get the switches pushed in. We have the wiring all ran. I've basically just went up, and then you can see it through the side panel here, and then I grabbed the cables, pulled them all the way through, and then I fished them back to the holes, as you can see here. And the way I remembered it, you also have a wiring diagram, but blue to the 2, so blue 2, then red yellow, blue red yellow, and blue goes to the 2. It's as simple as pushing these in. I can't really do this one-handed. They are a snug fit, so I wanted to keep them as tight as possible. So let me go ahead and get these in, and then I'll show you what it looks like. So there it is. I think it turned out perfect. They're nice and straight, they're level, and once again, 3-way switches. Everything is ran inside the vehicle. Now I can start on the engine bay. Now that we're in the engine bay, I'll show you what I've done. I have these two. One of these cables is from one harness, one is from the other, and then same thing for the other side. So one will be a harness for the white outside light, and the other one will be for the yellow inside light, and then same thing over there. The bad thing is I didn't mark which harness was for which one before I ran it inside, so I don't know which switch goes to what light and what harness goes to what light. Not a big deal. I can plug them in, turn on one switch, figure it out that way, but I should have really marked that before running the wiring harness. And then I went ahead and zip tied the bundle of excess wire, and there's quite a bit of space down here to tuck it all. So I have that zip tied together, bundled down there, and I left just enough to bring up one harness or one wire connector from each harness, and then just enough to run the power and ground to the battery. And it does state in the instructions that the ground should go to the negative terminal on the battery. So that is something. It doesn't state that you can just ground it anywhere. Shouldn't make a difference, but I'm going to go ahead and follow the instructions to the T. And so now it's really just running this side over to the driver's side, getting the lights plugged in, and connecting to the battery. The firewall does not really have anything to attach the wiring harness to, nor to really zip tie it. It's just this black portion for the ducting that runs across. No real holes to gain access from, but what I did, each one of these clips has a little hole in the bottom of it. So I left the zip ties uncut for now so you guys can see it, but I passed it through. So if I ever have to replace this, it'll be a pain in the butt because I'll have to go through and snip each one of these, but I should never have to replace this. So I basically just used this clip, the bottom one, to hold the wiring up out of the way, all the way across the firewall. And then I left just enough here. You want to leave a little bit of slack so when the hood opens and shuts, the wiring will be just fine. And then I took the excess, pulled it back through, back over to here, and zip tied it to the rest of the harness. So now we are ready to mount the lights and plug it in, and we're good to go. I have to go ahead and get the brackets put on these, which is simple. I'm just going to go ahead and get this put together so it'll end up like this, but on the this light will be on the opposite side. We have the lights assembled, and then I have one of the bolts through here. Basically from the kit you'll need the nuts, the washer, the lock washer, and these fasteners, which I have over at the truck, so I'll show you that right now. Passenger side, which will drop through the mount. Then you'll slide your washer on, then your lock washer, and then your nut, and snug it down, and then I won't be able to properly aim them until later tonight or whenever I have time. But the goal was to get this done today, which it's a lot easier than I expected it to be. Getting through the firewall was extremely easy, so I'll set you guys up and we'll get this one mounted over here. That looks pretty good. Definitely gonna have to do some adjusting and get this thing snug down on the bottom, and then I'll be able to do some adjustments later. As far as my kit, it's a 1/2 inch. Now we'll go ahead and get the other side installed, and then I can just plug them in. The other great thing about these mounts is there's this little, I don't know if you guys can see it in this lighting, pass through, and that's for a zip tie, so you can kind of hold your wiring in place. So there you can see I got it plugged in. Same thing on both sides. We still have clearance. We have the negative or ground attached over here, and then for the positive, I don't know why there's 2 covers on here. They really don't want anything making contact with this. But this is actually just a open post right here that I found a nut for, and I'm gonna use that instead of loosening this. I'm just gonna take both of these to this post and use my own fastener. That's it. As far as the battery, it's all connected. I'm gonna come back through and clean this up, but as far as everything went, it went extremely well. Now I'm gonna set you guys up so you guys can actually see them turn on, and so you guys can see how badly I messed up the connections. We'll see if a white one and the yellow one come on one switch, or if I got lucky and connected them correctly. Not sure if the video is picking it up, not really. The outside lights are on right now, but it's just the backlight, the amber backlight. Maybe you guys can kind of see it. They are not very bright, but it is extremely bright out here, so go ahead and turn them on. There are the outside white lights. That side just looked right into it, and I keep doing it. Why? Now we'll try the backlight on the amber lights, and then I'll turn them on all the way. I'm sure at nighttime I'll have another video posted of actually using these lights so you guys can see them more in depth, but the backlights aren't showing up all that great. You can see it right in the center, but yeah, they're very bright. So definitely need some alignment on them, but we'll get that done when it gets dark, either tonight or whenever I have time. That is the install of the Diode Dynamic Pro Series C2s and SS3s in the amber, and they both have amber backlights, and that's bright. And then the Colorado and Canyon Enthusiast ditch light brackets. I think it turned out really nicely, but stay tuned for an updated video. My thoughts on it, and then after I get them all aligned, and then we'll do a night test and everything as well. But pretty simple install. Take your time, do it right, do it clean, and I hope you guys enjoyed. If you guys did, please make sure to smash that thumbs up. Leave a comment down below if you guys have any questions, comments, concerns, and as always, if you haven't subscribed, make sure to subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next one.